very quickly, weight loss finally clicked for me. And the craziest part is I'm eating more than ever and getting leaner than ever without cutting out my carbs or doing endless cardio every single day. In this video, I'm not only breaking down the 3 principles behind any successful diet, but also breaking down my exact diet that has helped me lose the weight. So let's get straight into it. What would you do if I gave you a Formula One car and told you that I'd give you £1 million if you can race it around the track? Only to then find out that I've put no fuel in the car. It'll be near impossible, right? Because there's no source of energy for the car to go. Well, that is the exact same as you going to the gym, working your ass off in there, lifting heavy weights, coming back home and then just cutting out all carbs from your diet. Carbs are literally the driving force behind your performance in the gym. The more you can perform in the gym, the more muscle you're going to carry when you lose the weight. And the more muscle you have when you finally do lose the weight, the much better you're going to look at the end. I'm sure we've all been in this situation before, right? You've somehow finally managed to lose the weight, only to end up looking like a skinny fat version of yourself. Well, retaining more muscle whilst you lose the weight is the solution to this. And to prove it to you, this was me at 72 kilograms, eating like 1,800 calories. As you can see, you can barely see my abs. Now, this is me right now at 76 kilograms, eating 2,400 calories. And as you can see, I'm looking so much fuller and you can actually see my lower abs this time. Well, this is because the increased calories gave me a much higher carbs than in my first diet, which then leads to me retaining so much more muscle whilst I diet down. So if you're serious about becoming lean and muscular and not just looking skinny fat at the end, you shouldn't cut out carbs from your diet. Now, this next point is definitely going to shock some of you. Imagine if your close family member was going through a drug problem and they told you that they finally decided to quit. After a week of not relapsing, you wouldn't just give them a small dose of crack as a reward, would you? So why are you doing it to yourself? After 1 week of being good on your diet, why do you choose to reward yourself with a cheat meal or, God forbid, a cheat day? Why do you choose to ruin all your momentum and all your progress the week prior? This was the exact mentality that literally kept me stuck in the body that I hated for years. All the cheat meal did was remind me of what I was missing out, and eventually, just like the drug addict, I eventually relapsed on junk food. Now, it wasn't until I decided to actually cut out all junk food from my life just for the duration of when I was losing weight that I actually made significant progress. Now, you might be sat there thinking, oh yeah, this comparison between junk food and drugs is a little bit overblown. But the most viewed video on my channel currently is about the food palatability reward hypothesis. And it basically goes to show that modern junk food, like more specifically like ultra processed foods, they have been specifically engineered to make our monkey brains as addicted as possible to them so that we pretty much have an addiction to them. And to prove this even further, I found a shocking study that showed mice preferred water sweetened with sugar rather than literal cocaine, which goes to show you that junk food is not just as bad as drugs, but maybe even worse, which makes it all the more important that you try and break free from this addiction. And believe me, I get it, it's going to be incredibly hard for the first 2 weeks when you're trying to cut out all junk food, but trust me, once you get past that point, there's no looking back. For example, I haven't touched a junk food or an ultra processed food for the past 14 weeks, and I honestly could not have lost weight without it. If you're still struggling with your weight, you need to cut out junk food, at least for the duration of you losing weight. You can save all of the tasty junk foods that you want to eat for the maintenance phase after the diet, but for the duration of the diet, completely cut them out. Now, moving on to the next principle. When a recruit goes into the army for the first time, what do you think happens to them? Do you think the army just lets them run around all the time and doing whatever they want? Or are they thrown into a strict, regimented lifestyle with every single activity and routine plotted out on their schedule? Now, it's obviously going to be the second option because that makes them into the best recruits and the soldiers that they can be. They do their work at the same time, they eat at the same time, they do their workouts at the same time. This pretty much puts them on autopilot so that they just execute on their tasks without even thinking about it. Now, if we compare that to what I was previously doing when I was overweight and I was trying to lose the fat, I was literally eating whatever I wanted, whenever I felt like it. I was going to the gym like twice a week, even though I told myself I'd be going 5 times. And in general, just living a very unstructured day-to-day life. And honestly, it's no wonder that I failed all of those times. How was I meant to operate on autopilot throughout all those tasks if even I didn't know what I was doing for the day? Now, for this past cut, I've literally had the same foods at the same time every single day, and it's honestly been such a game changer for me. Like, I don't have to get up and like prep all these different foods, all these different meals. I know exactly what to make and when to make it so that I don't even have to think about it that much. I just know what I'm gonna eat, when I'm gonna eat. I literally just execute on my diet as if I were a robot, which makes dieting 1,000 times easier. So if you're gonna take anything away from this step, be it that make yourself into a structured routine so that you can just execute on autopilot. So now that we got those 3 principles out of the way, we can move on to exactly what I'm eating currently to get as shredded as possible. Now, meal number 1 is my pre-workout meal, and I have this at about 8:30 a.m. I like to train early in the morning at like 9 o'clock, so I like to keep this meal super light. And as you can see, it's not very heavy. It's 1 banana and 50 grams of dates. Now we have the banana in there and the dates for that like quick rush of carbs into my system right before I work out. And then after I come back from the gym, I'll make that protein shake. Actually, I've got it right here. I've just came back from the gym and I'm sipping on this protein shake while I'm making this video. And so I'll probably finish that, and that's pretty much meal 1, if you can even call it a meal. Now, if it's a rest day, I'll pretty much skip this meal and allocate this meal's calories to the other meals throughout the day. So moving on to the second meal, I probably have this at around 2 p.m. Now at this point, I'm not even that hungry, so it's not typically going to be that big of a meal. But basically, it's 125 grams of beef mince. And yes, okay, I eat beef mince. I might be brown, I might be Indian, okay, but I'm not religious, I'm not Hindu, so I can eat beef mince, okay? Stop coming at me in the comments for that. But basically, I have 125 grams of beef mince, like 375 grams of potatoes, and just a bunch of lettuce along with the beef mince. So I pretty much make it into like this big salad, and then I drizzle like ketchup all over it. Like to actually make the lettuce taste nice, because obviously plain lettuce just tastes like ass. But if you add the beef, if you add the ketchup, if you add like some spices to it as well, it's gonna actually taste so good, and it's not even that high calorie. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this as well. I have 100 grams of cauliflower rice as well to go with the meal, because it just gives you like a little bit more volume for the meal, and it's got a bunch of fiber in it. It's got like 2 grams per 100 grams. And so that's gonna physically make you feel fuller whilst you're eating it. So moving on to meal number 3, and I have this at 4 p.m., right? And remember about principle number 3 that I went over. This meal is pretty much an exact copy of meal number 2, but with just double the beef mince. And this just makes prepping it so much easier, because in the first meal, I can literally just prep all the beef and all the ingredients from that meal and then just have it in the house. I can just put it in the microwave and bang, it's there. I don't have to like make a whole other meal just because I'm basically having the same thing twice a day. Now, moving on to the final meal, meal number 4. And I normally have this meal at around 6 to 7 p.m. And that's because I go to sleep at 10 p.m. So having it like 2-3 hours before my bedtime just helps me sleep a little bit better, because I'm not like digesting a whole bunch of food right before I go to bed. But some people are different. You might love to go to bed on a full stomach, and that might help you like sleep better. So if that's you, do push your last meal a little bit further. But for me, this is what works for me, and it doesn't really like mess up my morning weigh-ins as well. So for this meal, I sort of try and like pack it out as much as I possibly can to get in as much volume, right? And to do that, I have 120 grams of oats, and I'll literally put this into like this big ass bowl, and I'll just fill it up with so much water and put it in the microwave so that it becomes like this thick oat soup. And basically, I'll put in like 30 grams of whatever protein powder that I've got in there just to make the oats taste that much better while still getting in my protein. If I was on lower calories or I needed to feel like so much fuller, I wouldn't actually put the protein powder into the oats, and I would have that as a separate shake alongside the oats, just so that it sort of splits those two apart and I can take my time eating it a bit more to make me feel a little bit more fuller. But because I'm full as is, but I'm still losing weight, I'm gonna put the protein into the oats. Now, this is the time where I have a ton of fruit. This is sort of like the end of the day treats. So I sort of try and save all the fruits, all the sweet stuff to the end of the day. And so I'll probably have some cherries or like some mango or some strawberries around this time as well. Now I know what you're thinking, right? For this last meal, I've got 30 grams of dark chocolate. And I know that this sort of clashes with what I said in point number 2 about no junk food, no processed meals. But this is the only like processed or like junk food that I've got in my diet. And it's not even that sweet, to be honest, because I use 70% dark chocolate. So it's not even that sweet. It's basically just like a bite of cocoa. And it tastes like a little bit bitter as well. But for me, I just find that it helps somewhat of a sweet tooth. But the thing is, it's not even that enjoyable for me. So the next time that I cut calories from my diet, the first thing that is going to be this dark chocolate. And there you have it, boys. That is my exact diet that I'm eating every single day to get as shredded as possible. Now, if you want me to help you with all of this, there's a top link in the description where you can work with me one-to-one. Peace.